Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards. And today, my guests and I, we're going to be talking about facing our fears and bringing hope. And I'm always excited, as I say, I think at the beginning of every show, to have our guests on. And I'm really excited to have Janette on the show today because I spoke with Janette almost a couple years ago, and she reached out to me about 3 weeks ago and said, Al, are you still doing your show? And see, I'm already getting emotional about it. And it meant so much to me that she reached out because she says it's time. It's time to use her voice. And that means a lot to so many of us. So, Janette, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. My gosh, I only know a little bit about your journey, and it's because your lovely sister was calling me. I got to know your sister from working at the West Jordan Chamber of Commerce. I was the director of member relations, and I used to go over there and eat at her place every once in a while. And she was always donating tamales, which I'm not a big tamale fan. However, when I tasted hers, I was a new fan because they are incredible.
Yes, I don't think I can eat any others, and include my daughter. She won't eat anybody else's, but like the ones that my mom is still making them
Oh,
sometimes. So yeah,
well, they are delicious, that's for sure. You know, before we started the show, I was telling you that your sister used to call me, and her and I we talked quite a bit because at the same time while you were going through your battle, I was going through a battle as well with my wife because she was suffering alcoholism. So her and I were kind of like in the same pool, right? And I was doing my best to help her as much as possible. And it's so hard when you have to tell another loved one that you know is suffering and hurting that there's nothing they can do except do their best to love them and be there for support. And I spoke with you a little bit on the phone. Matter of fact, my wife and I was on our way to Wendover and we were talking to you once on the phone, and it was such a pleasure to talk to you. And after we hung up, and I'm just going to share this, and I'm being honest with you, after we hung up, my wife goes, "She's not ready." And really, my wife wasn't even really ready at that same time, right? So she knew what
yeah.
you were going through, but just share a little bit about yourself just to kind of get things started. I mean, you're not originally from Utah, right? You moved to the States at a fairly early age.
Yeah. I was 12 when we moved to Utah,
Okay.
originally from Mexico. I was born and raised there. Um, you know, mom, single mom, and she had an opportunity to move here with her family. And so she came here in the middle of the year 95. And then she brought us kids December of 95. So I was 12 years old, not a lick of English. None of us did. And, like I have like bits and pieces of what happened, but, getting on a bus, getting to the border, crossing the border, being met at the border, driving us in the middle of the night in like the back of a truck, and finally we made it. We made it to mom Christmas Eve of 95.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Holy cow.
Hmm.
Now, being 12, a young 12-year-old young lady, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine the journey it was for you, right? The unknown, like where are we going? Where are we going to end up? What's going to happen? I mean, that had to weigh on you, didn't it?
It did. Being the little one of the family, I never necessarily had a say, right? I was always kind of pulled, like moving here, moving there, even in Mexico, moved I don't know how many times. And so I was really always in that state of the unknown, of we're just gonna wing it. But ultimately moving here, it was, you know, being with mom and being with my siblings. So it was a good thing. And, like we are blessed in this country, right? Like, I'm like, what? I don't have to preheat the water before I
Right.
shower. Um, like it was different, but it was a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And how we talked about the title, facing your fears. I mean, really, if you go back and think about it and you connect the dots backwards, you were already facing your fears at such a young age, right? And probably not even realizing it.
Yeah.
Because when we're pretty resilient when we're kids. We can bounce and fit in and you know pretty quick. However,
Yeah.
also coming to a new country and not knowing the language and the culture is totally different. I can see why where you're at right now today. And I mean that seriously because you've already battled a huge battle. And even though maybe you had fallen into a darkness for a little while, you always had that strength in you to get yourself where you wanted to be.
Yeah, there is something, and it was almost like bad sort of pressure that was put on me. Even as a young kid, my mom and my sister would always say, uh, and they would tell people like wherever she stands, wherever she goes, she stands out. Wherever she goes, like she grows, she plants herself. And um, I guess I've been blessed to be sort of a chameleon, and I blend in with the crew, and yeah, and I thought of it as a curse, but in the end, it really is a blessing. I'm able to to make friends and such, and grab onto them to be able to move forward. But yeah, I actually didn't think of it like that. It was definitely a big change for me, and I was just kind of thrown into seventh grade and learned a language type of
Wow.
thing.
Well, you actually speak it better than me, and I'm from here. I suck at our English language. My since I've started doing public speaking, my wife has really worked on me, going, no, 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 that's not how you say it. This is how you say it, because I grew up in West Jordan. It was farm. We were just hicks over here
Yeah,
back in the days,
yeah.
hillbillies, I guess you could say. So when did your addiction start? Because it seems like the majority of our guests, and I actually said this on the show earlier, it starts hitting like around the puberty time. Like our brains are starting to go different directions, right? And we're starting to come into our own personality. And we've dealt with trauma. I mean, just the trauma of moving had to be big, right? Some people fall into abuse and other people just fall into it. It comes from so many different directions. That's why I like to say many times on the show that addiction doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what your religion is, what color your skin is, whether you're rich, poor, middle class. It does not give a crap. It will sink its talons in every single person if it can.
Absolutely. Yeah. You go to meetings and you see people from all sorts of backgrounds. Um, Mine, so, growing up in Mexico, it's very common to see kids just sipping out of parents' drinks. And we did that, we'd go to restaurants and build long straws and put them into the the pitchers that the adult had on their table, and like pass it around, or like mom would send us off to like open up a can of beer and don't drink it, but here we are like pouring
Right.
lime on it. So it was very normal to have alcohol around. And the first time I got shit faced, oh, can I curse?
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Okay. First time I got like just plastered, I was at my aunt's house and my cousins were having a party, and I was just taking everything, tasting here and there. And at the end of the night, my aunt gets home, she calls my mom, and I'm crying, trying to like talk to my dad or something. Anyway, my punishment was I had to ride in the car with my mom, hot summer day on a weekend, running her errands, hungover as shit. That was my punishment. I ended up throwing away a bunch of hair products because I couldn't stand the smell of alcohol. And so I didn't really touch alcohol until I was about 17 again. Um, but in between then, I picked up another addiction, which is an eating disorder. And so I battled that for quite some time, from maybe around 15 till I was like 23, 24. And obviously, it's still there. It's addiction. I still have little quirks here and there of like not being able to weigh myself like others do.
Right.
I eat like little bird bites and then, just come back to food. So I have my very own special relationship with food, but the drinking, it was about 17, and it just kind of started getting worse after some years. It definitely crept up on me. I used it as my medicine, to sleep. I used it to cope with the day. It was a beautiful day. It was a shitty day. It was any kind of day. I was drinking, but it didn't actually get really bad until I was about 28. And that's when it was just all bad. It went from nights to like all weekend to all of a sudden waking up on Monday morning and stopping by the gas station to get something before I went to work. Until, I never miss work. Like when I'm sober, I'm there.
Yeah.
But I missed work, and I talked to my boss and I told him that I needed to talk to him. And he comes in and I tell him like, do you really want to know? And so I pull out a bottle of vodka from my purse and I show it to him. And I was like, I can't stop. I was waking up 4 a.m. just to take a shot or two to go back to sleep, and then be able to like get up early in the morning, take a couple more shots, go to work. So that was about maybe 2 months before I actually told him, before my body like couldn't handle the alcohol, but it couldn't not have it
Right.
in it. And so he was like, this is what's going to happen. I am going to fire you so you can collect unemployment and go get help. And so it started. I never got any more than 9 months. 9 months was like, if I made it to 9 months, that was it for 10 years.
Wow. And was it because you was just trying to numb something? I mean, you didn't want to feel anything anymore? Because you said at a young age, I mean, you threw away a lot of your stuff because just the smell of alcohol, right? And then,
Mhm.
and again, this is what a lot of our listeners, well, I can't say a lot of listeners, a lot of people on the outside don't understand, right? You just don't wake
Yeah.
up one day to say, I'm going to be an addict. You said it crept up on you, right? It was just bringing you in just slowly at a time. And then before
Yeah.
you realize it, where you have to go to the store before you go to work and you got a bottle in your purse, it's got you.
Yep.
So was there
Yeah.
something there that just kind of got you to that moment?
I don't even know at what point it got me.
Okay.
I used to drive, at this point, I was living in Oregon, and I used to drive by sort of like the downtown-ish area of Portland. And I would think, I'm not under the bridge. I have a job. I have a car. Um, I was renting a house at that time, you know. I have a phone, I have money in my pocket, I have a bank account, I have this, I have that. I'm not an alcoholic. Like, you're
Right.
kidding me? Like, no. Um, and so, like it really it was it was fun. It was acceptable, everybody was doing it where I was at. Um, I'm sort of an isolator, and so like it got me out, to play pool and come back home and like drink some more. It's just what people do when they say, let's meet somewhere. That's what they do. They go have a drink and that's it.
Yeah, right.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, fuck you. I need like five more. And then I have some at home waiting for me. So no, don't sweat it.
Yeah.
But no, it literally, I think it was like about a month. So I was drinking every night. And then I was dating this guy that was no better than me. So we would start off Friday, wake up Saturday, eat breakfast and start drinking again. And then go to bed shit faced, wake up the next morning, Sunday morning, breakfast, start over again. And, I was able to keep up with that until I couldn't. And all of a sudden, I just needed it. I needed it to stop shaking, to be able to breathe, because that anxiety that like you feel like you're dying without it. I needed it. At that point, it was no longer my friend. It was no longer my sleeping aid, my companion, because that's literally what it was. I had given alcohol a persona. It was my everything. I have no one else, but I have alcohol, so I'm good.
It gives you that false vision, right? Like life is
Yep.
okay. It
Yep.
fools you. I mean, any type of substance does that, right? I mean, whether it's food or alcohol or drugs or gambling, it makes you think that your life is a lot better with it.
Yeah.
And it seems like it, right? It does. It seems like that for a short period of time until, like you said, until it doesn't.
It doesn't. It worked until it didn't. And I don't know anything about any other addictions. I know they're addictions, but like, um, and I feel like some people, I don't even know how to put it. It's just an addiction. I don't understand gambling. I don't understand porn. I don't understand I don't quite even understand drugs. I know what alcohol did for me. So this
Mhm.
is this is how I speak of it. I felt no fear. And I think it was mainly because I was so numb. I just didn't care about anything, like it I didn't care about, and it wasn't that I'm like this horrible human being. It was just like I had my drink and that's all I can handle. So if people go away, let them go away because I got you.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah.
I just there was nothing more important than alcohol when I was in it. Um, Obviously, when I got sober for a short amount of time, um, I tried to do the best that I could to kind of move up in life, but like literally anything. Like I said earlier, it was just a normal day coming home from work, alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guest that was on last week and she grew up with it in her family. It was every day, right? Drugs and alcohol. And she was taught that drugs and alcohol make a bad day better and a good day even better, right? And that's how she looked at it all the time. And you said something too that got me when you said, you were in Oregon and you're driving by and you're not under the viaduct, you got a car, you got money in your pocket, you have a job. Again, it's that false sense that the addiction does to us, right? It's justifying things for us. Because I
Yeah.
did an 8 year every weekend for 8 years, every Friday and Saturday night, cocaine and alcohol. That was my getaway, right? And I was so good at hiding it. The 3 years I was dating my wife, she had no clue I was even doing it. She knew I was drinking because we drank together, but it was like social drink. We never drank and got drunk. We just had a few drinks, and socialized or sit out on our patio and have a few drinks and just talk and things like that. And I didn't look at myself as an addict because I only did it 2 days a week. It was the same 2 days a week every single weekend for the 8 years. However, I had a job. I was there 24 years. I never missed a day of work. I mean, I went in even when I was sick.
Yeah.
Did not miss work. I mean, when I lost my job, I had like 980 something hours of PTO. The only time I used my PTO was to go play golf. Not because I was sick. It was to get off work so I could go play golf.
Wow.
So again,
I
it's
would
that,
drain my PTO from the beginning of the year.
right?
Yep.
But again, it's that false sense, man. Addiction is so freaking sneaky, so damn sneaky.
But once again, it's that stigma, because it's what's in our heads and what we are told and what we are shown um on TV or whatever. That's what you picture when you picture an addict or an alcoholic.
Hmm.
You picture a smelly, dirty person on the side of the road, passed out or asking for money. That's what you picture, is someone like that. And that's what a lot of people think, or stealing,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what, I'm not robbing banks, like that was what was in my head. That was my idea, because my mom's twin brother, died of alcoholism, and those are the stories that I hear. He was at the bars all the time. He would feed my baby cousin alcohol in his bottle to calm him down, and he actually was. I'm not sure exactly how this story goes, but he was hurt by one of the policemen, and his liver just exploded, and obviously he passed away from that.
Oh, wow.
But that was my picture of the alcoholic. It's like somebody who is just gross and just a bad person. But that was what was in my head.
Yeah. And excuse me, you touched base on how it got to that point where you needed it, right, to stop the shakes. Because I watched my wife go through that, and there for a long time, I was guilty. I mean, I'd go and get her the bottles, right? Because she's like, I need it. And I felt like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place because she's like, I can die if I don't have alcohol. And I used to call BS on it, going, yeah, come on, you're just trying to get me. And then I'd be seeing her, literally, she'd be shaking like this. And it would scare me. So I would go buy a bottle for her. And as soon as she started getting that alcohol in her, the shakes were gone. But then she'd get herself so hammered again, I couldn't handle being around her. But then when she was coming out, I couldn't handle being around her either because of the withdrawals. And I
Yeah.
remember asking her therapist when she went to one of the recovery centers once, I told her that she was doing that to me. And she goes, Al, she's right. Alcohol is the only one that if you stop cold turkey, it can kill you. You can go into seizures. And I'm like, oh my hell. So what do I do? I don't want to buy her alcohol because I don't want her to keep drinking, but I don't want her to die either.
Right.
Right? It grabs everyone, everything around us, and it just starts freaking destroying it.
Yeah.
Anything it can get its hands on.
Well, at least you went and bought it for her. My sister would find it, dump it out.
I did that too. So I'm not, yeah, I did that just as well. Yeah.
That is a horrible feeling, when you are seeing your lifeline uh, being dumped in the sink.
Yeah. I caught my wife drinking once, Janette, and it was outside of our apartment. And I just happened to come around. It was night. She went out to go smoke. And I'm like, okay, I know she's drinking, right? And I'd go out there and I caught her and she's going through the weeds. She's on her hands and knees going through the weeds. And all of a sudden she got it and grabbed it. I was so pissed. I'm like, give me that bottle. And she literally jumped on it like a Marine would jump on a grenade. It's like, nope. And I mean, I was picking her up and everything to try to get that bottle. And she was hanging onto that thing for everything that she had. And it was just blowing my mind that that substance inside that bottle had that much control over her.
Yeah,
It's freaking
and it
tough.
does.
Gosh. So when when was it? When was it that all of a sudden that light bulb went off for you and you're just going, you know what? This is bull crap. I'm not getting anywhere. Life isn't happening for me. I'm done digging because I believe that when people think they hit a rock bottom, there's another rock bottom under that rock bottom.
Oh,
As long
absolutely.
as they keep that shovel in their hands, right? Because yeah, what was it for you that started opening your eyes?
So I I'm still digging through my brain
Okay,
when it is that that actually happened. I was so I think it was about a 3 month bender um before I asked for help. And I reached out to one of there's a man in AA. He's an older man. He's my friend. And I reached out. He's like, I'm gonna send a lady. So she came and got me. And before I went in, so this was, I think it was a Friday night. Before I went in, I tell her, hey, I gotta finish this box. Like, I'm not gonna throw it out. But I'll go in tomorrow. But under these conditions, you're gonna release me if I hear from this job. And then the very following week, I actually had my interview to get my citizenship. And so I was like, I have these two things, so you're gonna release me. We go in there so entitled, right? Um, and they're like, okay. So I'm like, all right, so let me finish my box and you come get me tomorrow. Um, so she came and got me. I went in there and I've gone through my share of detoxes. I can't even count.
okay,
I don't know how many times in and out of detox, a couple of rehabs. Um, but I went in there and I knew I was going to die. I felt my body shutting down. My legs were not functioning. They had to pick me up to help me go to the bathroom. My my motor skills were gone. I couldn't hold on to a pen. And they cut the medication in half and then immediately in half. And I was like, you give me my phone or you call the emergency room because like I'm going to die. So they take me in, they feed me more meds. That goes on. I find out about the job where I'm at now. And then I have my interview. So they release me. I'm not done with my taper. I feel like shit. I show up for my job and, I still feel crappy. I start going to the girl meetings. I think maybe it was that I immediately started seeing the gifts of sobriety. I immediately I think I was more open to seeing the blessings and the gifts that I was getting. Um, you know how like when you go to the meetings, they read the promises, and like every time I go to the meetings, which is very rare, and we can get into that. I love reading the promises because it really is possible to not fear that you don't have enough money for this, to fear people, to like you just live in fear because now you're sober and all your friends are gone, all your family is gone. and your friend alcohol is gone too. So what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, I am very grateful that I have God in my life. I choose to call it God, and just a lot of prayers, but I've been trying to get to that point. I sit around with friends and I say like, I wish I knew what it was that changed. What I can't pinpoint what it is that changed, because so many times I went through the 3 months, the 6 months, the 9 months. Oh,
All
one
over
day.
again, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was so many times. And I remember at one point, sitting with my sister, we were talking, and she said, I had to cut you off. I had to let go because I hated you, because I was wasting what they think is such a wonderful human being. And I was killing myself, but that was hurting them and they couldn't watch that. So I was shut out of her life. And mind you, my sister is more so than my friend, my mom. She's raised me, she's helped raise me. And yeah, it I had lost everything. Everything that mattered
Yeah.
in life, I had lost. And I started getting getting my family back. I started being able to get my daughter. I started, um, see my bank account grow a little bit. Just so many things that have taken place from the moment I got sober. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's been a journey.
You know, two things to base off the question that I asked you. And um, I know how much your sister loves you, that's for sure. Because like I said, we talked, here and there. And you were definitely in my prayers quite a few times, the times when we did talk. And every once in a great while I'd reach out to her and ask how you were, and or how you was. And she's like, we're gonna lose her. We're gonna lose her, and the fear, of course. With you not being able to pinpoint quite yet, and it's just what has popped into my mind. Possibly prayers from others, and maybe a little teeny voice that was just strong enough that just went through your head without you even realizing it, going, this is your time, and not
Yeah.
realizing it. And I don't know, because I'm not you, right? I don't know. It's just I'm just kind of going back. Well, maybe it could be that, right? Because I am a firm believer of prayers, because I believe prayers help a lot. And when you have more than one person praying for another individual or something, those prayers just compound into something bigger. And I look at God as my higher power too. And I mean, he saved me, took a career of 24 years away from me, but he knew what he was doing, and it's put me on this journey that I'm on today. And he knew what your journey was. I mean, we'll talk about that in the show of what you're doing now and what you're going after. And I think it's just freaking amazing.
Thank
You're
you.
you're one of this is how I like to put it. You're one of God's angels. You're now walking amongst the rest of us, putting your hand out, going, look, I've lived this life. I know what it's like. And I know the journey is a bitch. But
Yeah,
here I am. Take my hand and I'll do everything I can to help you through it, even though you know it's their own journey, right? It's their own
absolutely.
journey. However, you're there because you've been there to make it happen and guide them.
Yeah. Um, guess that's my way of paying it forward. Um, you know, I've been, I've woken up at a hospital being asked by the doctors if I had a death wish because my blood was alcohol. Um, I've put myself in so many awful situations and I'm still here. So I'm alive for a reason.
Mhm.
Um, I've lost several friends who didn't. They couldn't kick it. And you know, when I first got sober, I think it was about 6 months, I was scanning through my brain to see what I could possibly take because I didn't want to live. But I wasn't gonna drink. I wasn't gonna take my liquid courage to be able to kill myself. And I just like I was wondering what the fuck makes me so special? Why am I here and they're not? And you know, and then I started listening to good things and feeding my soul, reading good things. And um and this is why I'm here. Is to be that hand. You know, and I don't like to boast. I don't like to like feel like I'm all high and mighty or anything, but I've heard from several people how they just say you're inspiring. And I'm just like, okay. Like, okay, yeah, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, I go running, I've gone through this, like, and I'm still going, but like, doesn't everybody? And I want to be able to inspire someone and touch someone's life and to let them know that it is possible. Because I used to look at these people picking up chips and I would say, bullshit, you're
Right?
probably drinking in your trunk and then you're coming in here picking up a chip because I couldn't do it. I
Yeah.
could not do it.
You know,
So
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I would go to AA meetings with my wife and I heard, I don't know, a handful of people get up that got their 10 or their 20 or 30-year chip or even their 5-year chip, right? And go, I sat here in a meeting just like this, like some of you here today, and saw someone get this exact same chip. And they said exactly what you just said. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Uh-uh. You're lying. You know, you're just making yourself look good. However, they've done it. I mean,
Yeah.
they've done it. And every single person has said how amazing their life has been ever since they put behind whatever it was that they were battling. It's like the blessings have just poured in. And I'm a firm believer why they pour in is because of what they are doing. They're out there helping others in their
Yeah.
journey. That's not an easy journey. Life is a bitch as it is. I mean, it'll beat you down and knock you down and it'll keep you there if you let it.
Yeah. If you let it.
If you let it. Yeah, and you don't have to. We as humans are so resilient. We can bounce back. I mean, look at kids. Go back to being where you were a little girl, and I've taken some private coaching classes and two of the girls that did my coaching classes, they both told me, you need to bring that little boy back out, that little boy you used to know. and it took me some time to figure it out. But how resilient are we? You know, I used to take my Schwinn bike and build ramps and jump over garbage cans because Evil Knievel was popular, you know. And we'd wipe out and we'd tear our skin up and cut
Yeah.
ourselves and bleed everywhere, and we'd jump back up like it was nothing, right?
Yeah.
It was cool. When you went to school, people were like, "What happened to you?" "Oh, man, I wiped out jumping over
Yeah,
six
we were
garbage
cool.
cans." You know, right? Look at me, right? And
Yeah.
we glorify that even with alcohol. You talking about earlier, you know, I mean, even growing up, when I was going to kegers and different things in high school, it was like, what, you're drunk already? You've only had 6 beers? Shit, dude, I've had 7 or 10, or I've had 20. I'm not drunk. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we glorify it like it's something to be so effing proud of.
Yeah.
Why? It makes you feel like shit the next day. I mean, especially as you get older, it takes it.
Yeah.
If I did that, what I did back in those days, it would take me 2 weeks to get my shit back together because it would flip me,
Probably.
you know. So yeah, it doesn't go anywhere, and we do have the capability of changing our lives around. And it doesn't matter how old we are. You know, what matters is we put that shovel down and we say enough is enough, and we
Yeah.
go after something different despite the fear.
Yeah.
I remember my wife telling me once, I am so scared to not ever have a drink of alcohol again. I don't know if I could handle going to a concert ever again because I always drank. I don't know if I could ever handle going to a barbecue again because I always drank. I can't imagine that fear, right? That your life is over because of something.
Mm. Life is so much more fun though.
Yeah.
Um, I make sure that anybody, and it doesn't matter what it is, who it is, I am not ashamed of it because that's not who I am. And that's not who I am anymore, to say the least. But everyone I meet knows that I don't drink. And the people who care, they are they're amazing. You know, we will go to lunch and they'll ask, can I go ahead?
Yeah.
And, you know, and then I have my plan Bs. They tell me, hey, there's going to be drinking, but you don't have to stay or you don't have to come. Um, People who love me will be mindful of those things. And I make sure that I surround myself with those types of people. And some people, they'll buy special like Diet Dr. Peppers just for me to be there, you know, because they want me to join. So that, and there's plenty of things to do with sober people.
Yeah.
There are, you know. So it's but it's valid. It's valid. I didn't do anything when I was drinking. I didn't go out. And so I'm still trying to get to know me, to get to learn what I like to do, what I don't like to do, because I never did anything. So really nothing out there truly reminds me of drinking because I never went out.
Wow.
But it's the being in the house, nothing to do, and you're sitting there like, how am I going to get myself into trouble today?
Yeah.
So I've had to try and figure some things out that I can do at home or figure things out with friends. But yes, very valid. It's scary to think about it that way and that far.
Right. You
I
know,
gotta stay
and
sober today.
that's, yeah. And you're actually, I mean, this show will come out in about a week. People will hear this, but actually you are 1 day away from being 20 months. Is that correct?
Correct.
That is, See, I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. Congratulations, because that
Thank
you've traveled one hell of a journey so far. And look what you've accomplished. And really, it probably seems a decade to you, but you've done it in such a short period of time.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
so much,
right.
so much. Yeah.
It's what I love about doing these shows, and we've been talking about facing your fears, and here you are doing it again today. You're on the show telling your story. I was getting your text going, oh my gosh, I can feel it in my gut and I'm so nervous,
Yeah.
and you did not bat an eye. You didn't bat an eye. You're here. You're doing the show. You're doing amazing. I can't see any nervousness in you whatsoever. And believe me, I've interviewed enough people to know when they're nervous. Some people, it takes them about 20 minutes into the show. Other people, it takes within 5 minutes. It was within a couple minutes. I could watch. I started watching you just kind of ease into you and just being you and relaxing. So you're doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So both of our journeys, they're a little bit different. However, I think our paths are the same, if that makes sense. And the reason why is because earlier you talked about the reason why some people that you know are no longer here with us, and you are. You figured out this was your journey. This is where you're supposed to be going, right? You're supposed to be putting your hand out, helping others. And it's so crazy because here I am, gosh, quickly approaching 3 years of doing this show, which blows me away, and interviewing 200 and something people from all over, and if you would have asked me 5 years ago, Janette, if I'd be sitting here doing a podcast and doing public speaking about addiction, I tell you have your head so far up your rear end, you can't see anything, right? I've been working on my presentation for our October 7th event. And there's a place in my presentation on the PowerPoint where I put down, when I'd hit my knees and ask God, why me? Why me? Why am I going through this with my wife? Why are you putting me through this, right? Over and over and over and over again. And I've recently, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, finally realized it's because I wasn't learning the lesson.
Yeah.
Because he will keep putting that assignment in front of us until we get it, right? And I finally got it. I finally got it. And it took me till starting to do this. I mean, I just hit 60 in July. And it took me till I was 58, 59 to go, oh my hell, I know what my why is now. I literally know what my why is, and this is my why. And I am so happy for you that being where you're at right now, you know your why and you can see it in you. We're on a Zoom call and I can still feel the energy coming through the computer that you know what it is that you want to do, and you know it's going to happen. You don't know how,
Yeah.
right? Because even you text me one night, and because I said that we were going to do something for you, and you go, oh my gosh, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So how is this making you feel? You started up a company, you and a friend,
Mhm.
and it's Simply the Zest.
Yes.
Where did you come up with that name?
Well, she is into puns. She's always making little names for everything.
Okay.
And so she had some very inappropriate ones too. But I was like, we're going to take this far. We have to pick a cute name that goes with us and that can actually be used. And so she gave me like a few different names, and then I really like this one. So yeah, it was her.
Simply the Zest. And what's the meaning behind it?
We're just giving it our best,
Okay.
because really it's simply the best.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's just I firmly believe in putting your best foot forward and giving it your all. Give everything your best.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing for all of us to learn, right? It's something to go after. And the listeners who listen to the show quite a bit, they hear me say this a lot. It's good to set goals and go after goals and reach it and set another goal or goals. However, we get so stagnant in our life, right? Because I was stagnant in mine. I had a good job, I had a home, I was making good money. I still broke all the time, but I still making good money. And I got so stagnant in my life. I thought I had accomplished what I needed to accomplish, and this is how I was going to live the rest of my life, right? Going to work every day and doing what I do until I retired,
Yeah.
not realizing there was so much more out there, so much more that I could do. And every single time I do a show, I learn something from our guests, and it is no bullshit. Every single time I learn something, I pick something up that I can go, you know what, I can implement that in my life as well. Because if it's working for them, it can work for me as well. And that's why I love being around the recovery community, because they know what life is about,
Absolutely.
because they came from a dark place that not all of us have come from.
Yeah.
And they see life, they respect life, they're grateful for life, they're grateful for the blessings. For me to wake up every day, have my cup of coffee, still be in good enough health at my age to go to the gym. I'm at the gym by 6:30 in the morning. I work out for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Monday through Friday, I go hike. It's a blessing, right? I may have a bad day at work, but it's just a thing. It doesn't change my life unless I get hurt to where I'm putting a nail through my hand or something. It may change it
Yeah.
for a little bit, right? Yeah. So there's so many ways of looking at life, and people in recovery know what that gift is.
I think you learn to understand this. For me personally, is it's a sense of freedom that only people who have crawled out of that can understand. Because now you get to do anything you fucking want.
Yeah.
You get to sit on your bed all day because you have a bed. You get to be there for a friend because you have friends. You I don't know, you just get to do all these things, and you get to step out and do the things that you're afraid of because you can. And I've heard this, you probably heard it, and I'm sure everyone has heard it. Like, we as addicts, we make shit happen. You know, I knew that sometimes when I woke up, I wasn't gonna have alcohol, but by the end of, like, whenever I needed it, I was going to have it. So we're pretty fucking stubborn people, and if we put even half of that amount of effort that we used to put into drinking, we're legit unstoppable.
Yeah, right.
So it's that sense of freedom that you're talking about, is that you're no longer tied down to something. You get to do. We are blessed enough to be able to get up 4:30 in the morning, be at the gym at 5, be to work by 7, you know?
Yeah.
I get to do those things.
Yeah, because look how many people don't have that opportunity, right? Someone
Yeah.
that's stuck in a wheelchair. How much would they love to be able to get up out of bed and go for a run? Just even
Yeah.
go walk to the restroom,
Right.
right? We take so much for granted. So
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah.
and also learning the good peeps to be behind us. I thank God often for the people that he's put in my life, because whew,
And the people he's removing.
yeah, yeah, he's put some amazing people in my life. I mean, seriously, amazing, amazing people. And it's helped me grow. And yes, he has removed a lot of people out of my life, that he knew wasn't good for me. And I'm okay with it. I'm
Yeah.
definitely okay with it. I used to go chase after him, and I don't chase after him anymore, because it's like, you know what? You were just meant to be in my life for this amount of time, and you're not supposed to be anymore. There's someone that's taken that spot.
Yeah.
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 With everything you've gone through, I know that's the reason why you wanted to start Simply the Zest. You want to go out there and you want to help other individuals, both women and men, right? In all walks of life, really, to make a difference out there.
Yeah.
You know, again, this is why you're here. Again, this is why you're still here. Connect those dots backwards, as my friend Nicholas T. Smith likes to say. Connect those dots backwards, and you'll see you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And we can't look forward because those dots haven't been placed yet. Maybe a year down
Or
the road
have
we can
they?
go back. Well, or maybe they have. Yeah, you don't know. You definitely don't know. So where is it that you want to see Simply the Zest go? Vision.
Well, as a business, I want to be able to at least, I'm not doing it for the money. It's something that I love doing. I love my friend very much, and we have so much fun together. And just sitting around, shooting the shit, saying dumb things, and joking around and talking real talk. And while we're making these things, and while we're traveling here or there, that's what I get out of it, and hopefully we can actually support ourselves with our little business. But ultimately, and I'm very like, I don't know how, and I don't know where to even begin, but my ultimate goal is not only to show people that it is possible to get out of addiction and do something with your life, um, but I think that it's important that in order for me to keep what I have to be able to give it, or I have to be willing to give it. And many people, and I believe that many people go back to the same lifestyle that they were in, and because they don't know any better and they don't have any help. They don't know where to go. Just like I'm in this spot right now, which is like, I'm grateful where I'm at. I have everything I need. And I want that, but I don't know how to get there. It's much harder to do it when you are barely coming out of like a very shitty situation, or when you're coming out of a domestic violence, because domestic violence is not only physical abuse, it's mental abuse. They put you down. You don't know your own potential because it's been squished out of your brain that you think that you're worthless.
Yeah.
So what do many people do? They go back to the same. They go back to the same house where that's all they got, and that's where the drugs or the alcohol is there. The abuser is there. So I would love nothing more than to be able to assist those people, and have resources available, but like out there, literally in front of their faces, type of out there. Because when I first started, and as I go on my life, if when I didn't know what to do, I just give up, because it's easier to give up.
Yeah.
But if you have one hand, one person reaching out and saying, what do you need? I can help you. I can get you out of there. I can get your kids, I can keep you safe. That's what I want.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And you and your friend will be successful.
I
Yeah,
hope
you
so.
you guys will. Yeah, you've got the vision, you got the drive, and you will definitely make it happen. You know, I see all those medals and things in the background and stuff, and I'm assuming if that's maybe from your running and stuff, if you can accomplish that, you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. And you've said it a couple times yourself through the show. So you guys will kick ass.
I accomplished, well, I mean, it's a daily thing, but I got sober. I think that's definitely, I think by far that's the hardest thing that I've ever had to do is to get sober and go past that and remain sober.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is. It's a journey and it's a tough one. And it may subside a little bit. However, it's still there waiting to show, right? It doesn't go
Yeah.
very far. It definitely doesn't
No.
go very far. And something too to go back to the fears. I believe, and this again, this is just my belief. Whenever we're fearing something, that's the devil talking. Because fear is his greatest ally, right? It's
Yeah.
his greatest ally. It keeps us from going where we are supposed to go or helping the people we are supposed to help. So I'm a firm believer if something scares the living hell out of you to do it, freaking do
But
it
anyway,
because you're going to find out, what's going to happen and it's not going to be as bad as what you were thinking in your head, which is not really you talking. It's the opposition.
yeah.
So, Janelle, what do you want our listeners to gain from this show today, or what would be your main message?
I'm not sure. I
Okay, all right, fair enough.
was thinking, you mentioned something about goal, and I actually have it. I found it as a quote that it's not what you gain when you achieve your goals. It's like it's what you become
Yes,
when you achieve your goals. And you become a pretty different person than you were before. And it's very awesome to see. It's very awesome to feel. Like I've noticed that the more I get sober, the more accomplishments I have. I have a different walk. I have a different talk.
I
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, you are a beautiful young lady. You're very vibrant. You can see the energy behind you. I mean, just again, it's just coming through the screen. I love to be around people like that, right? Because it's oh my gosh, I can't even think of the word. It's just great to be around. It makes life so much better when you get around like-minded people, who
Yeah.
want to forget about the negative and the BS around life and just not saying that it's not going to happen, right? We're humans. It's still going to affect us here and there, but
Yeah.
to be able to feel it for a short period of time and then get back on our horse and take off and go after what we're going after. So it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for being vulnerable and sharing a part of your life that was dark for you. It takes a lot of guts to come on a show and talk about things that you're not proud of. But again, that's not you. This is
No,
you. That was a
this
different
is me.
person. Yeah. You've
Yeah.
already busted that shell.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Well, guys, thank you to all our listeners, all our guests, all our sponsors. Guys, again, couldn't do it without you. Really, really appreciate you. And I got to throw one more plug out because this will be the last show before our event on October 7th. You want to meet Janette in person? She's going to be there. She's going to have a table. Her and her friend are going to have a table. Come
Yes.
out and meet her. Come out and speak with her. There's your opportunity. October 7th from 1 to 6 at the Miller Free Enterprise Building in Sandy. You can go to Roosh Recovery and get your tickets, or you can get tickets at the door. Guys, you definitely don't want to miss this one. If you've been to our first one and even our second one, this one is going to blow it out of the water. Both of those, it's going to blow it out of the water. We got 4 amazing speakers. Well, okay, I'm going to say 3. I'm not going to count myself. So we'll just, okay, I'm not going to count myself. 4 amazing speakers. We're going to have 4
Yes.
kick-ass talks that you guys do not want to miss. Guys, we're going to leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.